Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we got some Miata updates. So we started working on the car finally. Check this out. Look how different the engine bay looks. If y'all remember what it used to look like. It's looking kind of empty. And it's about to get more empty. We just constantly keep removing stuff. So we decided we're gonna do this kind of the way we wanted to do it. What's been happening is the car's just been sitting, and I was trying to do this like progressive build, which I'm still gonna do somewhat, but the problem was I wasn't doing what I want to do, and because of that, I just never worked on it. So we're just going to do what I want to do, see what we can't get done. So one of the things you'll notice is all these wires everywhere. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, it all works, but it's ugly. And, this is, let's see. Some of this is just kind of like antiquated. Yeah, this right here. So this part is the ignition coils. It all works. And it's fairly beefy wires, and I mean, none of this is loose or anything. But the problem is, this is like wire I bought at AutoZone, and it's just taped together with some whatever on it, that split loom. I don't really like it. It works, but it's kind of ugly. It's not really. Maybe it's automotive grade, but this is like the bottom end of automotive grade. So we're going to step it up some. So basically, all this wiring is coming out of the car. Everything I don't like is going to come out. We're going to redo all the wiring. We're going to redo some other stuff too. So one of the things we're going to redo is the cooling system. So you'll note here, this is a silicone hose with some pretty good hose clamps. And if you go to the back here, you'll see there's another one, and then a coupler, and then it goes all the way back to the reroute spacer, which is right there, or the housing and the spacer. And then the lower radiator hose, I can't remember. It's actually got a patch in it too, right there. And then it goes over to the water outlet. And then we got this hose here, goes to the turbo water cooling, and that's the other one for the turbo water cooling. You can kind of see what that piece looks like. Let me try to show you guys what that looks like. Let me get the camera in there. Okay, so here's our water outlet piece. You can actually kind of tell. See, there's a weld right there. There it is. So I had this modified a long time ago, and it gets the reason I did that is you can tell the header is right next to that hose. So anyway, there's our water outlet thing. You can see the steel pipe that shoots under the header right there, and then that little hose with the brass adapter, which also has another brass adapter. That it works, but it doesn't really look all that great. So I think we're going to redo that too. Just I'm not quite sure if we're going to remake the whole thing or we're just going to like cut and weld until we're happy. And we haven't really decided yet. But let me tell you what we are going to do. So this cooling system, I showed you kind of how it works right now. Well, let's finish this. Almost finished. So back here, we got rid of the heater core. No more heater. We're going to have air conditioning, but not heat, because where I live, it just doesn't get that cold that often. And frankly, with a Miata, if you drive it a little bit, they get hot anyway. So this pipe used to go to the heater core, but now I just got it looping around to my reroute spacer. And as you can see, this thing looks pretty rough. It all works, but it looks rough. And it's as bad as it looks back here. So this thing is threaded in with JB with JB Weld over it. This is just blocked off, so there's a cap to a fitting with a barb, with a hose clamp, a hose with a hose clamp, and then another barb which threads into a piece of aluminum with JB Weld on it. That spacer is really old. It works, but it's old, and it's got gaskets on either side. There's a sensor. So anyway, you can see what our cooling system looks like. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to change all of it. Our goal is going to be to make this simple, clean, and bomb-proof. So we're going to get rid of all the hose clamps. The entire cooling system is not going to have a hose clamp anymore. Every single thing is going to be an AN hose. Kind of like what this looks like. That's like an 8 AN hose right there. Something kind of like that. We're going to probably make our own hoses. But anyway, we're going to do that. So to do that, I looked it up. We're going to need about 20 AN fittings. So like on our radiator here, we'll have to cut that piece off and weld on a 20 AN weld-on bung or whatever they're called. And then, so we'll need 2 of those for the radiator, and then we'll need, in and out of the motor, so the inlet over here Need a 20 AN on that. Back of the head, same thing. But let's take a look at the back of the head real quick. Let me try to I'll change the camera again, and let me show you all the stuff that's here that we're not using. So I don't have a pick. So I'll just use a zoom. So if we zoom way in, that piece there is welded, as you can see. That used to be, I think that went to like the oil warmer and the throttle body. But we don't use that, so we just plugged it. And if you note, yeah, as you can see, that thing like just pokes way out, both towards the camera and left to right. And that we're not even using that, so keep that in mind. Then, right above it, we got a coolant temp sensor. That's the GM coolant sensor. No, that's actually the stock one. Right above that's the GM coolant sensor. We do use both of those sensors right now. And then you'll also see there's a plug that's like, it's hard to zoom. My phone's in a weird spot. But anyway, there's a plug right there either. Uh-oh. That's not what you're trying to do. Okay, there we go. So anyway, we got all these sensors and stuff. So we can not using that. We're using that sensor, that plug we're not using, that coolant sensor we're using. Then we got that, you know, housing in the back, this hose clamp. And then, let's see, coming over here, there's, what, 3 different things with water coming out there. And then back here, like we said, a lot of this is not even being used. And this part, this hose, this whole pipe runs by the exhaust, which seems a bit questionable. But then also this is like poking out. You know, it's right by the dipstick. It's right by the muffler, or not the muffler, the downpipe. So there's a little bit of room here, but not much. And then back here, see how this spacer, you know, I mean, you can see how wide that is. It's bigger than my finger. That's at least an inch. Well, that's about an inch. And then you got this water neck. And these bolts are hard to get to back here. And this is all right up against the firewall. So what I'm going to try to do, and I haven't seen this done, but I'm going to try to get rid of that spacer. Just not have a spacer. I looked into it, and I think I can do this. So the reason you have a spacer is to install your sensors and to clear all the other junk back here, mainly that bolt and that other piece that's pressed in with the 1/4 inch hose coming off. But what I think I can do is I can just get rid of all that. Now I got to plug them off, and they're on the back of the head, so that might turn out to not be easy. But if you did, then I think you could machine a piece that just goes directly on here and works. But I mean, they make stuff that goes on here and works now, but the thing is they all poke out a bunch. You know, they're all pretty far depth to go around all that stuff over there. So I want one that's like more low profile, that only comes out to like maybe here, you know, instead of way back there. And obviously we'll get rid of all the junk we don't need. So that's kind of the thought. We're gonna, you know, move stuff around to simplify it, clean it up, reduce the number of, you know, connections. Basically, how many spots can it leak? Like right now, my cooling system doesn't leak, but holy crap, there's plenty of spots where it could leak. So we're gonna simplify the crap out of this, and essentially you're just gonna have probably 2 big hoses. Goes out of the motor into the radiator, and then out of the radiator into the motor. Boom, that's your 2 main circuits. That'll have 0 hose clamps and 4 AN connections. You can see right here we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then this bottom hose is split. So it's got 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So that's 6 plus 4 is 10. So right now we got 10 hose clamps on our main cooling system. So we'll go from 10 to 0, and then we'll pick up 4 AN connections. And then for the heater circuit, well, we're still kind of working on some of this. It kind of depends how much fab work we're going to do and if we're going to rely on welded parts or machine parts. But like this whole water inlet thing here, like right there, if you move that out of the way, that's another water thing that's welded shut. And that goes right here. And so that's plugged off. And you can see here, you know, fitting, hose barb with a clamp. That's a pipe with an O-ring. And then that's another hose thing. So we're going to simplify as much as we can. I haven't figured out how we're going to route this pipe, if we're going to keep this or not. This is I don't like how this looks. I don't like how it takes up space around the header, because the header has to fit around that pipe, and I'd rather I'd rather that not be true if I want to build a new header or something. That's just one less thing that I don't have to worry about. So if we do redo this entire water manifold, that's probably something we'll change, is put an AN fitting and route a hose that goes from that point possibly back here. We got to figure this out. Maybe there's another way we could do that. It'll take a little thought. But anyway, having something that, circulates water through the block, but get rid of that pipe and get rid of this hose back here. So then it simplifies it. It keeps everything looking good, and we'll kind of figure out how we're going to do this. One thought I had, so from the factory, like the way Mazda did it, they had water coming out of the head back here, and it goes through the heater core and then goes into that pipe and back to the inlet of the water pump. And then Mazda has a thermostat on the front, and everybody does a reroute. So essentially what Mazda did was, when you're just cruising around, you actually do have water flow going through, there's always water flow coming out of the back of the head. It's just limited by the heater core hose and the heater core flow. And I guess when the main thermostat opens, you probably have less water going through the heater core. But anyway, with the thermostat on the back, one thought I had was, could I just put the heater core, put that pipe outlet on the front again? Basically switch them. Put the thermostat in the back, but put the other water outlet in the front. And I don't know if that's really a good idea or not. Maybe it's not, but you can see if you did, it would make the routing of that, from here to there, it's pretty easy. But I'm sure it's probably bad, because then you probably don't have much water flow going to the back of the head until the thermostat opens. So, maybe not. But this is all stuff we're going to look at. We're gonna simplify this stuff. We got way too many hose clamps, way too many things going on. They take up space. And when we get done, this is going to look so much better. And it's something that I've been wanting to do forever, and I keep having a hard time working on the car and not doing some of the stuff I want to do. And this is one of the big ones we've been wanting to do. So anyway, I'll keep you guys updated as this progresses. We still got a lot of... We're still ripping stuff out of the car right now. I'm going to have more videos showing just all the crap coming out of the car. But this is one of those things that we're just going to tackle this. Right now I can see, to pull off this thing in the back, we're going to have to make our own reroute something or another. So I have a plastic 3D printer, and one thought I had was basically design something, like design it in SolidWorks or whatever. I got Fusion 360, use that, model something up, print it, bolt it onto the back of the head, check fitment, and kind of iterate. I've done that with other parts for other things, and it's kind of cool. You don't have to guess as much. Well, you can guess, but then you can print it and see if it works. So it's like verified guessing. Maybe that's a thing. But that would let us come up with a spacer that actually fits and has all the right, parts and pieces and like angles. Like you can see, if you're going to put sensors back here, they got to be angled so they don't run into stuff or, whatever. So we could test all that. And once it works, then we could say, okay, let's make it out of metal, or pay somebody to make it out of metal or whatever. We do have a mill, so we'll probably do it ourselves, and we have a welder. But, we got that one to do, and then that manifold down here. I don't like how that looks either, so my guess is that when this is all said and done, those two pieces will be custom, and the rest of it's just hoses, which is fairly straightforward. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this one, but I wanted to show you guys an update on some of the stuff we're doing. Y'all take it easy.